No review of the UFO situation would be complete without an overview of Project Blue Book. The Air Force claims Blue Book was the official channel for all UFO reports. However, most UFO researchers agree that Blue Book was merely a continuation of the policy of debunking UFOs. The real unexplained reports went elsewhere. You see here a timeline that represents the evolution of various Air Force projects that led to Blue Book. Use your mouse to explore Blue Book's history. The recommendations of General Twining in 1947 led to the creation of Project Sign on December the 30th, 1947. Sign had a full-time research team and was based at Wright Field in Dayton, Ohio. Investigators from Project Sign ultimately produced a report in 1948 called The Estimate of the Situation. The report reviewed the major UFO cases of the 1940s and concluded that UFOs were real material objects and that they came from outer space. The report's conclusions were rejected by U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff Hoyt S. Vandenberg. The document was declassified and all copies were burned. By 1949, most of Sign's personnel had been reassigned, and on February the 11th, 1949, Project Sign was renamed Project Grudge. Project Grudge used a strategy of openness to counter flying saucer hysteria. Rather than keep their reports secret, Grudge reports were published and generally skeptical. They hoped to reduce the public fascination with UFOs by showing that they had nothing to hide. The last report from Grudge was issued in December of 1949. After many sightings in 1950 and 1951, Grudge was reactivated and Captain Edward J. Ruppelt took command. He devised a systematic way to record UFO reports and insisted that UFOs be called unidentified flying objects. In March of 1952, Grudge was renamed Project Blue Book. In the 1950s, the skies seemed to be full of UFOs, yet Blue Book slowly diminished in staff, size, and funding. The Blue Book report on the Levelland, Texas sightings was only 60 words long, when the original Air Force intelligence report was 19 pages in length. Blue Book reports were the usual litany of misidentifications, insufficient information, and unknowns, always combined with the soothing phrase, "not a threat to national security." Throughout the 50s and into the 60s, civilian and news groups were perceived as being faster and more thorough than Blue Book. In 1957, the Air Force reduced funding and transferred the remaining staff to another command of the Air Intelligence Service Squadron. In 1961, the project was reorganized and put under the United States Air Force Foreign Technology Division. In 1962, a review by Colonel E.H. Wynne recommended closing the project altogether. The mid-1960s saw another wave of sightings sweep the country. Newspapers and public opinion were very critical of the Air Force, especially after the swamp gas incident in 1966. An ad hoc committee led by Dr. Brian O'Brien reviewed Blue Book's performance and resources. It lamented Blue Book's meager resources and recommended that the Air Force work with universities to evaluate in depth 100 or so UFO sightings each year. This recommendation ultimately led to an Air Force-sponsored study of UFOs performed under contract at the University of Colorado. The group's final report denied the existence of extraterrestrial UFOs. The scientific report finally gave the Air Force a reason to disband the project and thus eliminate the source of the poor public image that the Air Force had acquired. On December the 17th, 1969, Project Blue Book was closed.